Parents of bullies, when did you realize your child was a bully and how did you react? In preschool my daughter began to show signs of being a mean girl. She would talk about refusing to play with someone because she didn't like their clothes and convince her friends not to play with other kids. I watched the edited for TV version of Mean Girls with her and we stopped and talked about how the kids treated each other and how they might be feeling. She started being nicer all around. What really spoke to her was being the victim of a mean girl situation in first grade. Now in middle school she is quick to identify mean girls and bullies, doesn't let herself become their victims and befriends kids who are victims and helps them connect with other nice kids. Thank you for catching this early and doing real work to fix it. Catching little things before they can turn into big things is so huge. One of the things I've been noticing, along with a mom friend, is that our 8-year-olds have started to react negatively when people don't know something they do. Nothing big, but that snotty you haven't heard of thing. I think they've both done it to each other, and it's nice to have a friend going through the same parenting challenge at the same time, because we can learn from each other. I've seen her pull her kid aside and talk to him immediately about it. I've started doing the same with mine. Both to emphasize how hurtful those words can be, and to give them ways to reframe the situation to turn it into a positive one instead of belittling a friend. For example, if a kid has never heard of Pokemon, that's a reason to be happy and excited for them, because you get to teach them about something awesome, and be happy that they finally know about it. I don't worry that my kid is a bully, but I do worry that his social skills in all areas are lacking. It's something we are constantly working on. And it feels like around the middle of elementary school is when social norms and wanting to do what the other kids are doing, etc., are kicking in. So it really feels like a time when things could get a lot harder socially, as well as more complex. I will be reading the comments on this post with interest, because there is going to be a lot of social navigating coming up, and my kid will definitely need help to get through it happy and healthy. The biggest bully that went after me at school, with all the names, pushing, pranks etc. His mother worked for the school, so I told her your son is a real ass. Her reply, yeah I know. With a disappointed face. Tell me about it. I work at a children's hospital and my god, some parents are more spineless than a effing jellyfish. I have seen kids throwing fists, spitting, biting, raising their tone and even cursing in a very detailed language. Look, I'm all about never using violence to raise a kid, but that doesn't exempt a parent from, well, parenting. It's already bad that some parents appeal to bargaining with their kids so they can get medical treatment. There's a time and place for everything, and with all due respect, your kid isn't responsible of his own health, not until his parents have taught them the importance of good health. So if your kid doesn't want to get a vaccine or a treatment because he doesn't like it and you oblige, then you are a shitty parent because you are neglecting his health. Some things aren't negotiable, and the more you try to play the cool dad/mom, the more he will disrespect you and other authority figures. This is how a kid is introduced into the criminal life. Parents are supposed to be the kid's first authority figure, and every time I see a shitty parent I can only think of this. I feel like a lot of parents think they need to be their kid's best friend, and that a bond is how you get them to behave. Except children are always testing boundaries, and letting things slide because you don't want them to hate you is a great way to get walked on. The other one is ignoring them. Please stop. Your loud-ass kid will always win, and you and everyone else in a 300-foot radius will lose. My son is 4 and has started some bullying behavior. He will call other kids stupid just out of the blue, or talk openly about how much cooler/better his choice is than some other kids. His mom and I pretty much nip it in the bud right there. We tell him that saying things like that is not cool, and we have him go up to the kid, apologize, and then compliment them. I really hope that this is just a phase. I used to do something like this with my daughter, but over time, she just hid her behavior more. Like give compliments around other people, but bully when no one is watching. It really taught her to be manipulative. I corrected it by rushing to the other kid when I was able to catch it. I'd rush to the other kid and ask how that made him/her feel. Let the kid know he should shout stop I don't like it at her. Get down at eye level with the kid, completely ignore my daughter until that kid felt better. Then I'd handle her. I learned not to force her to apologize because she didn't actually mean it. I would ask her how she felt and why she did/said whatever. Sometimes kids just can't control their emotions, and I found out that she did not have good coping mechanisms. So I made a chart that had different emotions on it so she could label what she was feeling. Whenever she had a bout of bullying, I'd bring her the chart and ask her what she felt and name it out loud. She'd get to choose a coping mechanism like deep breathing, drawing, writing, scented lotion, etc. to help her calm down. Then we'd talk about it after she was calm. When my son was born, I used this immediately with him to help him recognize his emotions. No problems at all. A year after I graduated high school, the meanest, most popular girl in school mother called my mom and said I'm sorry if my daughter ever upset or hurt your daughter. Apparently she called a bunch of girls' moms from my grade to apologize for her daughter's behavior. I remember this one kid who kept trying to pick fights with everyone had parents that was in charge of a local church. Parents got upset and tried to start a legal battle when I defended myself on the playground. I was suspended and my punishment was the new Spider-Man movie. It's pizza time. Same thing happened to me. I beat the crap out of my bully one day and got suspended. My mother came in, gave the principal some choice words and announced that since I had to handle the situation I was getting ice cream. When I got back to school they sat us next to each other where I got my revenge for the rest of the year. I broke a bully's nose in high school, and after they realized why I did it my parents walked the punishment back from the vague threat of selling my game consoles to I guess you have to do a chore before you can watch TV or play video games while you're suspended. The chores in question were really easy, they weren't subtle about this being more the illusion of punishment than an actual punishment. I was equally unsubtle about the fact that I didn't regret anything, that I'd have done it again if given the chance to act differently, and that it resulted in a lot less bullying afterwards. My sister, who I partially raised, was a bully and one of my long-term foster kids was definitely a bully in the beginning. Not to be cliché, but it was nearly entirely due to trauma and mental health problems. My sister turned out to have some pretty serious bipolar. My foster son had been abused in every sense, actively isolated, and had gone to 5 schools by the 3rd grade. Gone is in quotes because he never actually went. Both of them were very obviously bullies in different ways. My sister was manipulative and was constantly lying to get her way. My foster son also lied a lot but was not very good at it, and mostly had physical aggression. I worked with my foster son and his therapists a lot to navigate situations with bullying. He started on his own saying things like, "Hey, I'm sorry I was rough back there," or "It makes me scared when I think someone is going to hit me in the head." The kids were super forgiving, and I honestly think the hardest part for him, once he got less defensive, was forgiving himself. He also saw me defend him with other adults and kids a few times, so he learned the difference between standing up for yourself and being malicious. Some kids are just being dicks, but some of them really have been through it and are acting out because of it. Was told my kid was a bully in 4th grade. Okay, I had seen signs of him being bossy to his sisters, so we had numerous talks. I watched him like a hawk, jumped on him if he even so much he gave a sideways glance at his sisters. Later on, the kid he supposedly bullied came to a small gathering at our house. What a little shit that kid was. Took our digital camera off my husband's desk, when they were expensive items, and broke the battery compartment hinge because he threw the stupid camera because it wasn't Polaroid. I had a hard time keeping my husband from bullying this little kid. Later still, talking to other parents, my son was not the only unfairly accused. The little shit was tiny for his age, had red hair and freckles and long eyelashes and a sweet smile, and at first glance was angelic. My son was cool with our temporary mistrust, because it came out he was not the only one. I always wonder what became of the little kid. We had a similar experience with my son in the same grade. At first, I believed the other kid as I thought he was a nice kid. Boy was I wrong. I finally talked with their teacher, who said in front of the other kid's mom that this stuff wasn't happening. But stupid mom still believed her asshat kid. The last straw was when asshat kid accused my son of bullying him on days he wasn't at school. My son wasn't the only one accused, including a shy kid who couldn't bully anyone if he tried. Unfortunately, it took a very long time for my son to get over it, but it's good now. Asshat's mom has tried being friendly with me. I shut her down immediately. I remember my parents distrusted me for a little bit after a former friend accused me of bullying in the 7th grade. I didn't want to talk to her, as she was an entitled, physically disgusting person. She and I drifted apart until the incident that got me accused of bullying. My crime? I told her to stop talking in the recess line. Which we weren't supposed to be talking in and the teachers were strict about it. Thankfully my parents figured out pretty quickly that she was full of shit. But I was still pretty hurt that they trusted her word over mine in that time. Not a parent, but I'm the eldest cousin and one of the younger lads had a bit of a bully phase when I was in my early teens. I was used to him picking on his little brother, but he started extending it to other lads, extended family and friends. He was tall for his age so he abused that. But I was bigger back then. I'm now a puny 5 feet 9 inches to those 6+ monstrosities, so I put him in a headlock and asked how it felt. He started crying. He cut his shit after that, at least around me. He still picks on his brother as an adult, but if anyone else tries he unleashes holy wrath. Hopefully I wasn't a bully. I didn't pick on people, but if people picked on me I was like, right, we fighting. Not a parent, but my older brother was a horrendous bully to both myself and other children. He was just abnormally aggressive from day one. First thing he did when I was born was try to attack me, and from there began years of physical attacks that would last into my teens. And when he began school, it wasn't long before he started attacking and bullying other kids too. He was also a poor student and was always getting into other sorts of trouble, etc. He really relished violence, arguing and being antisocial. My parents were split on the issue of my brother's antisocial behavior. No matter what my brother did wrong, he was my mother's golden boy, but at the same time, she expected my father to discipline my brother, while she refused to intervene and made constant excuses for his behavior. Then one day my father died, and after that, there was nobody with either the power/will to properly intervene on my brother's bad behavior. So the downward spiral of endless incidents at different schools continued and eventually culminated in my brother getting expelled with no grades. He was not unloved. Over the years, endless relatives, friends and teachers etc. doted on him and gave him so many opportunities, educational and otherwise. People were always convinced that there must be some sort of understandable reason for why he was the way he was, and that all he needed was the right sort of support and he would improve. These days he openly identifies himself as a psychopath. And you know, I would have to agree somewhat with that self-diagnosis. He is very smart, but he seems to suffer from a profound lack of innate ability to empathize with other people. Despite this though, he views himself as a superior being, and he has a long history of manipulative behavior. I can't say that things worked out great for my brother. As an adult in his 30s he is a fascist with very few friends, no real career, no education. He has wasted a lot of his inheritance and he has alienated almost every person in my family because of reputations he developed for being lazy, antisocial, undependable, manipulative, hard to handle and just generally lacking in integrity. I myself cut him out of my life because he was nothing but drama and because he also remained very volatile and threatening even as an adult. Overall, while my mother's approach to raising my brother certainly didn't help things, I also think that there was something fundamentally wrong with my brother from the get-go. When my sons told me about the zero-tolerance policy at school, I gave them permission to defend themselves. They protested, saying there will be a 3-day suspension for any offense or defense. My response was that if you are truly defending yourself, I will make sure those are the happiest 3 days of your life. As a result, they were never bullied. Bullies just seem to know who won't defend themselves. I do not understand zero-tolerance policy. Someone punches you and you get punished? What is that meant to teach anyone? Had zero-tolerance policies in both middle and high school. It sucked, because some kids, including me, back when I wasn't that assertive and cared too much about stupid rules and policies, were bullied and couldn't make them stop, because nothing works, only standing up for yourself does. We were expected to tell the teachers. Always did, nothing happened. Instead the bullies walked freely, their parents were never called or involved about any accusations that their kids were bullies, and we actually went from being victims of bullying to being the bad guys. Not because we stood up for ourselves, but because the teachers couldn't do anything and that we should stop bothering them about it. Even though several people came forward about being bullied by the same group of kids, they didn't do shit and instead blamed us for not standing up for ourselves enough. I did everything I could with the no-tolerance policy. I asked them to stop. Didn't work. Talked back. Didn't work. Ignored them. Didn't work. Went to the teachers and even the school board. Didn't work because they used a Uno reverse card and basically told me it was my own responsibility. If I could turn back time, I'd take a dump on that policy and actually get physical. I was a fairly tall girl, 5'7" already back then. 5 feet 10 inches now. But I was lanky and insecure. When I see those kids nowadays, some of them still manage to make my blood boil. They had an anti-bullying protocol at that high school. They never used it. Needless to say, I changed schools for multiple reasons after 2 years. This was one of the reasons. Not me, but when I was growing up we had a neighbor kid who was like 6 years older than me, always teasing and making fun of me. Until one day, when I was already in a mood, I was like 6, it happened a lot. I put on my gloves, it was cold outside, don't judge me, then jumped the fence and punched him square in the mouth. Knocked one of his teeth out, and gave him a busted lip. Went bawling inside. His mom came over an hour or so later and was basically like, yeah, I always knew he was a little shit. He deserved it. Then left. He never spoke to me again, though. As far as I know he's married now with his own kids. That's it for today, Team Astro. Have you ever had any similar stories like this? If you have, please let us know down in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Please consider liking and sharing this video and support us. Daily fun facts before you leave. You are born with 300 bones, but by the time you are an adult you only have 206. Alright, bye.